Tennessee Wildcast is live on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Glad to be here at Ames Plantation today, right out in front of the mansion. Great location for the Manor House. I'm sorry. The Ames Plantation, Ames Manor House. But excited to be here. We're going to be talking about ticks today, and I've got Amy here as my co-host. Thanks for being with us today, Amy.
No problem.
She lined this show up, and today we're going to be talking with Dr. Allan Houston here at the Ames Plantation, and it should be a fun show.
Well, I don't know if it's fun when you're going to be learning about ticks.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
But it's educational.
Yeah,
guys.
Education, and we're going to hear a little bit about this property, I hope. I may put him on the spot. What's going on here, and kind of a little bit of background about this place. But so anyway.
All right, Dr. Houston.
Got a lot to talk about.
I'm going to ask you a real tough question right off the bat.
Okay.
What is your title here at Ames?
Well, I am a professor with the University of Tennessee, Department of Forestry, Wildlife, and Fisheries in Knoxville. I'm also a leader of the research and management for the forest and wildlife here on Ames.
Well, one thing I've always known about Ames is the research. And y'all have been doing a ton of research in a variety of things, as we were talking earlier. Everything except snakes and...
snakes and turkeys, I think.
Turkeys are the only things that you've not done research on here at Ames. But the one thing that's been going on here recently has been some tick research.
Yes, tick research. I got concerned. Now, first of all, I'm not the expert. But as an ecologist, I got concerned about a couple of things. And one is this, is that people were coming to me and telling me I had Rocky Mountain spotted fever. But they weren't sick enough. They had not been sick enough. And I got suspicious that there's something out there that's mimicking it. And so we began to try to do some research. And the way you can do some of this and do it well is to start. And then the experts in Knoxville will say, that idiot Houston's getting ready to mess it up. And so they'll come down and begin to do that. And the expert, Dr. Becky Trout-Frixell, came down and began to partner with this. And she's really the leader. A lot of what I'm going to tell you I've learned from her, but of course a lot also is just the experience of what we've done over the last several years.
Okay.
Let's. I got a picture here of Becky. Is it her in the blue?
It is. She's kneeling, and then she has two of her graduate students there, Sarah Mays and Brian Hendricks, and they did two separate projects that lasted a couple of years between them.
Okay. Well, she's the expert and the brains behind the research then.
Unfortunately, she is the brains of the expert. I'm just the gopher.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate you bringing it to their attention and providing a place to do this research.
And it's a great place to do research because it's so large and it's so varied with all the different kinds of habitats. And we pulled in other experts as well, but Becky deserves a lot of credit for what we found.
For the ones that don't know, just real quick, how many acres is Ames Plantation? So when people think, well, we've got a large area, some people are thinking, oh, probably, 1,500, 2,000 acres. No, it is exactly
18,400 acres.
Yes, that is a big area to do research.
It's a chunk of ground.
And it is continuous, which is very unique anymore.
It is all together, and it goes everywhere from a river bottom up to some of the driest hills. So if you're looking for something to do and you want a background, that is, I need an upland, I need a river, I need something, well, generally Ames has it.
Yes.
And tell us real quick, you were telling us earlier that this place started out, how many acres when they first bought the property?
Mr. Ames bought the house and bought the property 400 acres.
400.
And then he was interested in cattle and the bird dogs, and he just began to expand until he had 25,000. And when he passed away, Ms. Ames set it up, and she sold land to support the foundation, and 18,600 acres, and then it's changed up and down a little over time.
And one of the oldest cattle herds, Angus cattle herds, right?
He got interested in cattle, brought them over, and we have the third oldest registered Angus herd in the nation and the oldest in Tennessee.
Awesome.
So it's a wonderland, really, if you think about it, for the outdoors.
It is. All right, well, let's get back into this ticks.
All right, let's jump into the ticks.
Yeah.
So we talk about ticks. It seems like it's in the news more and more, and everybody kind of starting paying attention to ticks and to tick diseases. So,
well, they should pay attention, and part of that, I think, a couple of things. But one is the Lone Star tick. We started seeing those populations a number of years ago, and they've just gone straight up. You know, it used to be less, and your sportsmen out there will, I think, relate to this. 15 years ago, if you went out and you got a tick bite, you talked about it all summer. Now, if you go out and you don't get a tick on you, you talk about it all summer in a way. And part of that is because of the Lone Star. Those populations moved in and went straight up.
Yeah, the other morning, got back to the house. I wasn't covered, but my husband was covered. And I said, you should spread a little bit better.
Well, and I really believe this. Some people, the ticks are, I have a friend, and he can sit beside me, and it looks like a caribou migration coming across him to get to me. So some people, they just don't bother. Some people, they just...
I'm that way with chiggers.
There you go.
If there's one in a 2-mile radius, it's on me. So, all right.
So diseases. What diseases do these
Well,
ticks
actually,
carry?
what does it, yeah.
All right, diseases. There's a lot of diseases. There are bacterial diseases like Lyme disease or lichiosis. It's called STARI, the southern tick-associated rash illnesses. There are viral diseases, and some of those are very dangerous. There are protozoan. There are even neurotoxins. You could have a tick on you tonight, get up in the morning, and not be able to move a muscle. I heard recently of 2 kids that came on 2 different weeks down to the hospital in Memphis, Children's Hospital. Couldn't move. They were in bad shape, and the doctors did not know what was going on. They finally found a tick within 6 hours. The first child was okay. 2 weeks later, another child in similar circumstances. They knew what to look for now, pulled the tick, and the child was okay. Now, these kids were in circumstances that were dire. And the doctor said, I haven't seen this in 20 years practicing here, and now I've seen it twice in 2 weeks. So neurotoxins. And then also the meat allergy, the alpha-gal, which is a sugar.
That's the one that scares me.
Well, it ought to. I had not heard of it, let's just say 5 or 6 years ago. And now I hear about it more and more and more and more. On Ames Plantation, we have 3 people with it, including a young lady that has severe, very quick reactions with only the smallest amount of exposure. So, many of these diseases, even Rocky Mountain spotted fever, as dangerous as it is, and it is really, truly dangerous if you let it get away. We can be treated and get over that. And Lyme disease, if it's caught early enough, we can be treated and get over that.
I had Lyme.
Meat allergies.
Canine school 15 years ago.
There you go.
In Kentucky. So
meat allergies forever. Let me back up. So far as is known, there are some indications that people can get over it in time if they don't get tick bitten.
I've heard if they're younger, they have a chance of getting over it. One of the officers, his son has it, and they were talking about it the other day, but I'd not heard that. Everybody that I know, and we have 6 acquaintances, personal friends of ours that have it, and they all say it's for life. So that's one I guess I need to do some more research on.
Well, it'll come out in time. Do more research. I've even read a paper yesterday that B and AB blood types are less likely to get it. So, if a sportsman's out there and you've got that blood type, I would just say don't count on it.
Is this a red meat only allergy, or is it chicken or
red meat only? Can't eat anything from a rat to a whale. So
okay.
If you're going to chow down on good old beef burger, not going to happen.
Or pork. I heard anything on hoof is what I heard.
Well, that's true. Anything on hoof.
Okay.
Fish and chicken is pretty much their only safe thing to eat.
Well, it's such a sneak, too. You go and get a pizza, you get the cheese, everybody else gets the pepperoni, and there's a tiny little piece of pepperoni on there. And then boom.
You're having a reaction.
Yeah.
Most of the ones I know carry EpiPens, and that's the one that's...
And maybe eat a lot at home.
Yes, they do. Actually, they do, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't want that either.
All right, so let's jump on something else. Is there a time of year that carries more of a threat?
The time of year that carries more of a threat is when the ticks are most active. And here they're active all year round if it's warm enough. But usually starting about now, April, and then all the way into September is when the diseases are reported. They go up, they go down. And that's just a function of when the ticks are out there. However, I have seen ticks active at 22 degrees in my truck. Sitting there in a nice warm truck and found, here comes one down the back of the seat. So
I remember one year, the day after Christmas, we were working the dummy deer, and I was laying on the deer, and I got into the ticks. and it was the day after Christmas. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
And that can be the
Of course, no spray.
that can be the deer tick. They're more active in the winter.
That was 15 years ago, so I don't remember which one was.
Well,
I had a bunch of them.
And those are the ones that carry Lyme. Not every tick carries every disease.
And we've got some pictures. The slide right there that you have up. Which tick is that?
That is just the good old dog tick. Now, it kind of brings you, and we'll talk about in a minute, how you catch ticks. And that particular tick is on a little cooler that we use to catch them.
Yeah, and then there's other shots here. We've shown this one, but if you want to jump to how we catch them, or we can do that since we got some shots here and we're kind of talking about it. But how do they capture these and to do the research?
Well, of course, you've got to have the tick. And when we do have the tick, we would carry them to Knoxville. And then the tick would be ground in half. They would save half, the other half grind up, do genetic sequencing. And you're not looking for various parts of the tick, you're looking for various parts of the disease. And a really happy thought is that some of the ticks were carrying 2 diseases. So that's swell.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a wow. All right, how to catch them. You sort of play off of the way the tick acquires a host. One is the questing behavior. They would get on the end of a piece of grass and they would quest, and when someone walks by, boop, they get a hold of him, and now he's in business. The other is they actually seek. And the first is passive, the more aggressive. And an individual tick may utilize both on a given day. But so we're sitting here, we're giving off the pheromones and the carbon dioxide. The tick picks this up, and here he comes. Now, so how do you play off that? The questing ticks, we get a piece of cloth. It's got a nap to it, so the ticks can attach pretty well. Put a dowel rod there, drag it behind you for 90 seconds, and then pick it up and look at it and pick the ticks off and put them in ethanol. Then the other is to get the little blue coolers, and you see them at Walmart and other places. We drill holes in them. We put dry ice in them. We have a cloth. We put that cooler down there. The dry ice doesn't melt. It sublimates. It goes from the solid directly to the gas, and so the carbon dioxide goes out of the tick. Yep, there we are. There's supper. Comes over the next day. You can find them on the jug or on the cloth. Now, sometimes you find nothing. However, we have one spot over on Ames, one of our trapping spots, and we came back one night and picked 1,100 off of it.
Wow.
That's not a good place to camp.
Wow.
Man.
Well, you can tell me that one off off camera.
Gives you the willies.
Yeah, I think we've got some more pictures of some of the research. We've got y'all you do some small mammal trapping too, don't you?
Yeah, we did do that because the diseases are in the ticks, but there has to be a reservoir out there for them, and it can be in the deer, it can be in the mice particularly. So we want to know that. So we put together a very large research project, and we caught mice. We searched them for the ticks, and that was primarily with Dr. Kennedy down at the University of Memphis. But at the same time, another piece of research that we did, we wanted to know where's the most likely place to pick these up. And we looked at grass habitats, we looked at pine habitats, and we looked at hardwood habitats. And what we found is you can't predict. Ticks are very sensitive to moisture regimes, and so if they start to dehydrate, they'll run off into the duff, and they'll move up and down the vegetation all day. So grass, pine, hardwoods, you're just flipping a coin. You can predict
You're not safe anywhere.
No. But what you can predict is where they're sort of not going to be. They're not going to be in a Walmart parking lot. It's just too dry. Typically not on a lawn, although they can be there.
Yeah.
As much rain as we've had, maybe.
Yeah, wherever it's hard for them to take care of that moisture regime where they don't dry out. But no, a tick can be anywhere at any time. Then we also looked at birds. There are diseases off the coast, and I'm afraid there will be here eventually. Heartwater's one. A way for them to get here would be the little neotropicals. So with Dr. Michael Collins down at Rhodes, we put up mist nets in these habitats, caught the birds, searched them for ticks, and turned them loose. We caught 600 and some odd birds and found 3 ticks. Now, that's not much until you understand how many birds there are out there in the world. So a tick could catch a ride up here on a bird.
Pretty easily.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more picture here, or maybe a few more. But what's this guy doing here? it's like a camera or some kind of
then,
tripod.
He's got a camera, and it's got a wide lens on it. He's shining straight up. And what that'll give you is an index of how heavy the cover is, like for the timber. Is it shady? Is it not shady?
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different factors to this research, not just catching them. And
lots of data points. That's Dr. Moore down at Christian Brothers.
And you got to know the area you're working in and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, he's in the grassland right there with a student. And you can see Dr. Kennedy. Yeah, there you go. Dr. Moore with a student. They've got a line across there, and then every few feet they would really quantify what's out there.
Now, are these guys afraid of getting a tick on them?
I was going to say, how do they keep the ticks off them since they're the ones out there doing the research?
I'd be like, y'all go do that. I'll be.
There's certain things. You blouse your pants.
No, it's that. Yes, Well, that kind of takes you up for your sportsman. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. And for us that were out in the woods, what do? Well, you armor up. Mm-hmm. You make the tick work. There are 4 species that'll accept a human. The rest of them think we're too nasty, I think. But you have the Lone Star, you got the dog tick, you got the Gulf Coast tick, which we found here just not too long ago, and then you have the deer tick, and primarily in the winter. But the Lone Stars, aggressive is not quite the word, but they're not searching real estate. They're looking for a place to put down a well right now. So they're going to bite. So how do you armor up? You spray. And permethrin is probably the best product that I have found. You don't spray it on your skin. But
clothes only?
On your clothes.
Experience there.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what I do for turkey hunting. I take my garb and put it on the fence, and I spray it until it's damp. I turn it inside out. I spray it till it's damp. I will wear, if it's not too awful terribly hot, very, very light long underwear with socks over the top. I will wear it top and bottom. That's been treated for ticks. I'll spray my hat. I'll spray my vest. I don't spray my gun. But these guys would do the same thing. And you just think about, what's a tick looking for? He's looking for skin. A shirt like this is not so good. They walk right in. Keep it tucked. Make the ticks work for it. And there are 3 stages for every tick. When they're first hatched out, these are the little seed ticks, and all 4 of those species have that. Mm-hmm. Well, those little rascals, you can walk through a larval mass.
Oh, yes, and then it looks like thousands are just swarming up you. Been there?
Mm-hmm. I've done that once before as well.
Yeah, they hit like pepper, and then they just spread, go through your clothes and bite, and you think you had chiggers. Now, they could be dangerous if there's a vertical transmission from mama to the babes, and perhaps in some diseases there are. But you're their first meal, so you're probably, other than the fact you're going to itch yourself to death, scratch with a chainsaw. And then if they get a meal, fall off, they've had a chance to be exposed to that vector out there, to that pool of diseases. They come back as a nymph. Now, they're larger. They're likely to have a disease, but they're hard to find. Now they get another meal drop off. Now they've had 2 meals. They're even more likely to have a disease, but they're bigger. So, it's kind of a counterplay.
So that brings us into, so do all the life stages have the diseases? They don't then?
No. I say no. Let's just say that the nymphs and the adults have had a pretty good chance to pick one up. And as I said, some can carry 2.
Okay. All right. I guess the one thing I do, you talk about you never spray your skin. I will spray with off. I pull up my shirt and I spray my belly. I also pull up my pants legs and I spray my legs. And I will also spray around my wrist because I don't want things crawling. And for all of us that are females in the outdoors, we have to drop our pants to go to the bathroom where you all don't have to. So we have a chance of picking up ticks in other locations. So I'm always spraying my waist area.
Well, it can't hurt to spray and make them walk through a minefield.
Yeah. I'm like, and then I used probably a half a can the other day. I was like, what are you doing? Who didn't have ticks?
I'm not getting a tick.
I didn't have a tick.
Mm-hmm.
I was good.
I can't stress avoidance enough. It's not exactly. It is. It's up to us. And I search when I get home. I have my wife look. But ticks are not inhibited on where they get. I had a friend who had just happened to keep that ophthalmologist appointment. He was going to cancel, but he did. He said he was sitting in the chair, and his doctor gave a that wasn't a good
Yeah, no.
So he said, what's that about? And he said, well, you have a tick under your eyelid.
Oh, wow.
And my husband had one last year in his ear. When he went to the doctor, and she went to look in, and she's like, oh. And, of course, she had to take, long forceps and get it out. Of course, he said it was brain surgery or something.
Yeah.
So that's why he's like, how would you like forceps going in your ear? But
well, that brings a good point up, how to get them out. And people, all kinds of stuff, everything from soap suds to a battery acid shock.
And I've used the little thing where you spin them, and I don't like that.
If they're
Just
well
always use
attached,
tweezers,
well, if they're well attached, you're not going to get them out with these methods.
You got to back them out, don't you?
The way to get them out is to get tweezers or something and get them around the head. You think about it, you grab them by the body.
You just squirted it back in there.
Exactly.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to pick them up and then work them out. And then if they're really well embedded, there'll be some mouth parts in there. You need to dig those out too. So if they're well, and sometimes the little nymphs will get half of their bodies embedded.
Yeah, like they're almost all the way buried up in there.
Yeah, just their hind end stuck out. And that's how they have to do. They're so small, they have to get through the skin to get in there and feed. So, yeah. You got to be careful how you get them out.
So, what do we need to do to avoid ticks when we're out there? I mean, everything. Just.
Well, first off, spray. Okay. The second is to tuck. Try to make it where they've got to travel a long way across those minefields. And I think that's there's the vigilance part of it, too. When you get back home, look. Don't let a tick stay on long. Some of the diseases can transmit pretty quickly. Some of the diseases, they have to be on for a day or so. Also be vigilant. Let's just suppose that someone comes to your house today that's been in, name the country, Wisconsin, and they're coming down to visit, and they're a hunter, they're a fisherman, and they come in and they throw their hunting duds over in your corner. Now, you may have ticks. When you come in during the course, and I'll do this, if I've been working outside, I'll come in and take my clothes off and throw them in the dryer.
We drop them in the washer immediately and just hit wash and then goes in the dryer.
Wash, dryer. Wash, you wind up with a clean tick. But if you...
then we dry them.
If you dry
we dry that tick.
Remember the desiccating thing. They're in there going, I'm dried out, and that gets them. But you got to be careful. Ticks have a pretty good vector. We can move them around all over the country in hours.
Gosh.
And not know it.
Well, a lot of times when I first come in, I might just kind of shake them off. And I know it's at the back door, but I still don't want to bring those into the house because I have in the past had those thousands in my house before where one of us unknowingly brought them in on clothing, and then the next morning wake up and they literally, with the clothes that were dropped by the bed, thousands of ticks.
Well, you can
everywhere.
Have the female
everywhere in your bed.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes.
All that stuff goes in the dryer.
Because
it goes out of the house.
But sometimes you don't think of it if you've been out and you just come in and you just
Well, the female is the only one that swells up. She's the one that. She's the one that does.
Well,
this.
It happens sometimes.
Tell me about it. Anyway,
I've been pregnant.
Well, at least she's pregnant. So you could bring her in, and she could hatch right there in your house.
Yeah, see, that's
an attractive
scary
thought.
That's what you want to think about at night. Who needs Pet Cemetery this weekend? We can just think about ticks hatching in.
I'm itching right now. So, but I think it's something that's hatched, like we said earlier.
There is something flying around. So if you see us, kind of itching, it's not ticks on Ames. But what have you learned from your research here at Ticks?
Well, during the course of the study, even the first year with Brian, we caught 50,000 ticks.
Wow.
One of the things that we learned, going back to that original thought in my head, is is there anything mimicking Rocky Mountain spotted fever? Okay. Rocky Mountain spotted fever caused by a bacteria. Scientific name, Rickettsia rickettsii. That's the four-wheel drive. That's the bad one. However, we discovered Rickettsia parkeri. It is a lesser version. Now, so if you got that, you would feel bad. You would, you might get sick a little. You go to the doctor and then get treated, doxycycline usually, and you get over it. You would have anyway. I can remember sitting right out of the parking lot, 95 degrees, with my heater going wide open because I had the chills, been exposed to ticks, went to the doctor. Rickettsia is what they told me, which means, that's Rocky Mountain spotted fever, we will treat you. No, it was Rickettsia parkeri, I think. But now, on the other hand, we don't know the difference when we start getting sick. So the thing to do is, indeed, if you've been exposed to a tick, you have some real concerns, then of course you go to the doctor. What else did we learn? We found the Parker eye. We found that some of these ticks are carrying more than one disease. We did some studies trying to figure out, what about the habitat types? Well, that didn't turn out for us. We checked some novel kinds of ways to catch them. That cloth that we dragged behind them, we impregnated it with carbon dioxide. And what we found is that ticks are as bad as beaver. Beaver, you never really beat them. They're always waiting.
Yeah.
Ticks, you never really beat them. You just have to be alert.
I do want to go to the one slide before we run out of time here of a deer because, we all think about ticks on us, but I've always said, how does the wildlife survive? Because if you think about them and you think about us in the woods, they're eat up. And tell us a little bit about this. This is a fawn that you're looking at on the screen right here, and these are ticks right here in the preorbital in front of the eye.
Right.
And it's just completely full of ticks.
Yes, and I worry about wildlife too, and not just from a disease point of view, but that little guy's job in life is to be still and not be found. So if you've got ticks on you and you're doing the kind of things we would do or just be worried to death, that probably increases its chances of a coyote seeing it. And it kind of brings me to the thought, too, of what's coming that's bad.
Yep. Yeah, I was getting ready to say that. Where are we headed with all of this?
Well, not in good places.
Right.
The deer population is just a big sack of blood walking out there for a tick, so it's a wonderful host. That's one reason I think our population, well, I'm pretty sure that's a reason our tick populations went up, because you've got a very available and a host that's got a lot of what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But what's coming? The longhorn tick. I don't think it's here yet, but when it gets here, they load up on they can kill calves.
Wow.
But the really good news is that the female doesn't even need a male to reproduce.
Oh, that's just great.
Parthenogenesis. So there's no dating, holding hands. It's just...
We're just having babies.
Yeah, boom.
There we go.
So, yeah, I didn't think about that. Cattle, too. I mean, that's a large host.
We get them
well.
off our horses all the time.
Well, and usually...
And your dogs. All of y'all that have bird dogs.
Definitely.
Ticks are becoming one of the number one problems that we're seeing, especially in the bird dogs here competing, and your labs. I mean, they are... that's a whole nother subject with the veterinarian on that, because we just recently had some dogs with some tick-borne diseases. Wow. So
another off the coast is heartwater. It's not here.
It's coming.
Yeah, tell your audience it's not here yet.
It's not.
But kills cattle, goats 100% of the time. I found a paper, finally, that talked about a study done in Norway with deer. Killed them 100% of the time.
Jeez. Well, boy, things to look forward to.
Wow.
Yeah, poor old deer are taking it on the chin, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Houston, we greatly appreciate your time this morning. We greatly appreciate being on the wonderful Ames Plantation. I love it.
You are welcome.
It's a beautiful place, and the topic was not the greatest today, but it's good information, educational.
And some names of some ticks for people to go do some research on.
Get that spray.
Yes.
Think about some of those tips that Dr. Allan Houston gave us, and be prepared when you go outside.
That's true.
So constant vigilance.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Tennessee Wildcast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week.